If you are watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to press the subscribe button below. It's free. Then you'll receive the latest notifications of videos. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Meditation Gathering. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. This week we have Leon Russell, who will lead us in meditation, and then we'll have 20 minutes of silence. After that, we'll open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Leon.
Thank you very much, Dan. A light is emanating from the center of everything. Everything is everywhere, with no distinctions and no differences. So the center of everything is where you are, always. Always has no direction. Imagine you're suspended in space, perfectly held and supported. The light that emanates from the center of everything passes through your entire being, for there is nowhere that it is not. The light has a warmth and a familiarity that you feel and know intimately. Your body that is suspended in space, perfectly held and supported, is completely transparent. It has a border around it, which is a single pencil-thin line of blue neon light. There's no quality your body possesses that prevents or resists the pure light in which you are motionlessly suspended from passing through your entire being. The single pencil-thin line of blue neon light dissolves, and the awareness that seemed to be housed in this temporal form now exists independently, non-specific, endlessly present and beyond all definition. The light that emanates from the center of everything passes through you, and as you exist formlessly and motionless, light reaches to itself. There is nowhere it ends and you begin. The light knows all. There is nothing that it doesn't know, no space into which it does not extend. The light is an indescribable knowledge of peace that is complete, of love that is boundless. There is silence, silence so great that no thought or sound can encroach upon it. This indescribable knowledge of complete peace and boundless love silently is. The desire to exist has gone. The notion of I cannot be gauged or given context, as there is no other present. Language and thought are completely redundant. I am becomes I am not. The nature of being is beyond the sense of being. Motionless, formless, at the center of everything forever. Eternity remains a constant state. Silence, peace, love is.
Open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 20 minutes left for sharing your reflections, your questions, or sharing anything you'd like to share. If you'd like to share, raise your hand or use the electronic hand at the bottom of the screen, and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. Who'd like to share? Norman, take yourself off mute.
Yes, I'd just like to say thank you to Leon. It's very, I would say it's strange and uncanny because I had an experience last week. I was at a dinner and there was about 10 people in a round table where I was at. And I had quietly given all the traits they had. And after the meal, there was a few toasts and there was a chap replying to one and I couldn't see him. So I turned around and looked at him without any judgment. It was a very boring type thing. I had no judgment at all. And when I turned back again, the people at the table were carrying on to the top of sticks conical masks to put over their faces. The sort of thing you see in a masked ball in an old movie. And on this mask were written all the attributes that I had given each one of them when I first sat down. But at the top of the masks, their eyes were sparkling as if there was no condemnation in them. They said, we're not what you think we are. And round the top of their heads was this blue light. I didn't know how to explain it. I called it ice blue, but obviously a blue neon light is much nicer. And the fact that you brought that up now is just reinforced in me that everybody I meet is this beautiful neon light, and anything else that's there, I put it there. And it's a great relief to realise that I haven't interfered with them at all. They're just immaculately right. So thank you very much. Just reinforces in me, that experience. It seemed to last for some time, but obviously it didn't. It was just like, shorter than the shortest time at all, but it was there. So thank you very much.
Wow, how beautiful is that? And, it's interesting because when I kind of reviewed that writing, because I don't like to claim authorship for my writing, and it's something that I've developed as a musician over time doing lyrics, is like, if you position yourself as though you're in the audience or you're somebody who's viewing what's apparently happening, then I find I can tap into like a deeper richness to it rather than trying to claim that it came from me. And when I read that back, so I was explaining to Teresa and Dan before we opened the room up that that piece of writing came to me and I recorded it and then I kind of transcribed it. I was looking at the blue neon light thing and thinking, is that a bit strange? Should that be in there? So, in a sense, straight away, you've also reciprocated that same gift to me to sort of, to actually highlight that one point, which my analytical perspective kind of wasn't quite sure about. Opposed to the rest of it, I was completely like, wow, I can see where that's coming from. That's lovely. It's really nice. So, yeah, appreciate that deeply. Thank you, Norman.
Thank you.
Who would like to share?
I feel I could share something with you guys. I'd like to talk about the sense of what happens to time during these 20 minutes, which could be 20 seconds or 20 hours or 20 lifetimes, because that construct as a concept dissolves when we allow ourselves to just rest in the moment and experience the silence and the peace. And I feel like when there's a joining, when it's a group meditation, and that's very much just been reaffirmed with this experience, the knowledge that you are joining is a real kind of it's a really valuable tool to make you be more present, because you feel responsible. I don't know if it's responsible, but you feel like a sense of a duty and to be there and to be present and to not let your mind wander, because you're aware of the fact that you've made a commitment to a joining with others, which is, it's very much like in alignment with how we feel about the concept of the dreaming mind anyway, being in these fragmented selves, quote unquote. And I've talked to people before about in the AA recovery program, the fact that they use a sponsor, and it's very much the same thing. It's like being answerable to another helps you to be more present. And I think that's a really beautiful aspect of group meditations is, in my experience, then I could feel all you guys, whether or not you're in the UK or different parts of the UK or abroad. And that just, it highlights the fact that you want to just be present because you've made a commitment to join with others. So thank you very much, everybody. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. I'll jump in here. I wanted to say that I really appreciate what you downloaded today and shared,
Mm.
and also mentioning the present moment, because I woke up this morning and I felt so much anxiety going on in my head. I was just I was feeling I had no peace. I was miserable, and and then I remembered the present moment. So I just paused, breathed deep, and went back into the present moment. And I just listened to the sounds around me, and for a couple of minutes, and I came out, and I felt peaceful again. It was just the anxiety had left. Yes, being present is a powerful tool. Yes, I'm done.
And how counterintuitive as well to the way we think things are set up, because I sometimes say to people that imagine there's an invitation for a party, and on the invitation it says, "This party will be so much better if you don't come." And your ego's like, "I beg your pardon, what if I'm not there, darling? I'll be the life and the soul of the party." And it's like, that's the way we're all set up, really, in this strange way. And it's like, if we're not there, if that idea, that concept of the self isn't there, and we can bypass it and experience the present moment and the silence and the peace, and these are just descriptive terms of what we call love, which is the most powerful force and the only force in the universe as we perceive the universe to be. And the answers lie in that silence. I, like it says in that piece of writing, the desire to be I am becomes I am not. And it's like there's a part of the cogs in your mind which is like, what? I am not. How can there be freedom in me not existing as a separate self? But we know that's what the whole workbook and the text and everything's geared towards, directing us towards it. Embracing that thought that in non-judgmental present moment awareness, there's where the peace and the love lies. And judgment is only really something that has a definition in relation to its counterpoint, being what we use forgiveness in course vocabulary to explain. So we say, when we judge something, we've projected a meaning onto something, and that act of projection of meaning becomes an obscuration for what is actually behind our projection, which is the truth of reality. And it's described to us as an act, and forgiveness is very, very passive, or not very, very, because that would be degrees. Forgiveness is a completely passive experience, because forgiveness sits, it waits, it judges not, and the way it's explained to us in the course is like it's an inactivity, and it only has this definition, like I say, in relation to the activity which we've superimposed upon reality. So all of the peace lies in our removing our quote unquote self from a situation, from perception, from the present moment, and not judging is known as forgiveness in course speak, but really forgiveness is an inactivity. So it's just being silent and empty in the moment. And that's where all of the beauty is. And that's why it'll say in the course, God knows not form. Mind reaches to itself. Mind is pure abstraction. All of these signposts which are saying to us, there's nothing, there's no structure. It's just literally just being in that moment without any concepts. Salvation can be seen as nothing more as the escape from concepts.
John, please unmute yourself.
Hi. Well, Leon, thank you so much for that. And thank you, everyone, for being here. That was exactly hit the spot for me, because
Great.
we just returned from 7 weeks back in England. And, they teach us that we have to learn that we are, or we think we are in the world, but we're not of the world. The real us is not of the world.
Yeah.
And our 7 weeks was particularly required to be in the world, selling properties and buying properties and visiting, and we were house sitting and all this. So it was so lovely just to feel that silence and talking about light as well, because we are, beings of light. That's what our innate nature is, and we've come across a lot of healing, light healing stuff recently. But what really hit me as well is, because I laugh a lot, like Jesus says in the course, our only problem is that we forgot to laugh.
Yeah.
So I tend to laugh at practically everything, mostly about myself. So we were doing a house sit. We love house sitting because you're thrown into other people, pet sitting, house and pet sitting. Mm-hmm. And we were looking after this absolutely beautiful dog. When you talked about, whatever you, and then Norman with his story as well, where you're projecting out the part of you that you're not looking at. So we had this little black dog. He was a mixed, whatever you call it. And beautiful dog. I mean, so sweet and loving and kind and gentle. And then suddenly he could go, and I mean, it was quite scary.
Out of the blue.
Out of the blue. And it was always to do, with, he had a habit of taking things, and they could be the TV control, the shoes that were there, a plastic bag that contained the shoe, whatever it was. And he didn't destroy it. He didn't chew it or anything like that, but he didn't want to let it go. And I thought, wow. And to be honest with you, I went into a bit of fear because he was suddenly switching his schizophrenic personality. Yeah. And I thought, oh, now I realize I was projecting my schizophrenic personality onto him. And he was such a great teacher. But no, it's that silence part. And also you talked about love. Mm. I had another wonderful experience. I met up and had a long lunch with a friend of mine. We were together as 11-year-olds from school.
Wow.
So we've known each other 67 years.
Wow.
And it was such a loving experience, and, we went through different, as soon as I left school, he left school, we went through totally different parts of, to meet up with that. The love I felt for this, I still saw the young boy in him, the love. I wanted to hug him, and then I thought, oh, maybe he's not into all that because he hasn't been on this journey. But we had such a wonderful, beautiful connection. You know, it was just about love.
Wow.
And it also made me reflect because he and I were both considered dunces all the way through. You know, we were 1C, 2C, 3C, 4C, 5C. And we both failed all our exams together, the two of us. And they said we had to set up a special class for us to resit these exams. Anyway, he left. He's now the chairman, owner, founder of a multi-million-pound company, wonderfully successful. But the most wonderful thing that I thought, they've just won the Best Place to Work award for 2024.
Wow.
And it's about love, because he took me around his office, and, you know, there was none of this camouflage. There were no suits to be seen and ties or anything like that. None of that camouflage. They were all just, and it was such a lovely experience of the power of love.
And it's still experienced now because I can feel it. It's lovely. It's amazing. And one thing about the schizophrenic comment, somebody accused me of being schizophrenic the other day.
We're all
And I thought to myself, well, 3 can play at that game. But you know, in the course, very much in keeping with what you're saying about into eternity, where everything was one, there crept a tiny mad idea where the Son of God remembered not to laugh. Lately, I've been highlighting to people an incredible line. I mean, there aren't any lines that aren't incredible, but in laughter and lightness is sin gone, because its quaint absurdity is seen.
How beautiful.
And what's so incredible about this, we know every single word is absolutely purposeful and full of intention, and obviously quaint absurdity with our understanding of English language. It's like saying tiny mad idea crept, you know, it didn't stampede into and ruin everything, just a tiny mad idea crept in. In laughter and lightness is sin gone. And we're told that sin is just another word for error. So in laughter and lightness, error is gone because its quaint absurdity is seen. And I honestly feel like, you know, joy is just another attribute of peace and silence and love. And they're all facets. They're all just temporary descriptive terms for us to use as signposts towards that feeling which we know intimately as our nature and our shared nature. And again, in the course where it says, you know, never believe that you can relate to one another with anything external. If you and I both like a cup of coffee with the same brand, without sugar and without milk, and we relate on that form, it's not that. It's what we've got inside ourselves, that shared identity that the Course will call like the Christ mind, the non-judgmental present moment awareness, where we feel the connection with one another, and therefore that points us towards God being the fundamental substrate of our creation. So yeah, beautiful story, John. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you, too.
Dennis, take yourself off mute.
When you were talking about the blue light, you know,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you where you got it from, because I thought I don't remember reading it in the course, but I've done a lot of healing, and people have come up to me and said, not a neon light, but an electric blue light is emanating from your hands. There's only been about 3 people who've come up, and I can't see auras or anything like that. I just do it. But it was particularly interesting when you mentioned this blue light, neon blue. Well, they described it as electric blue. Well, what's the difference? And could you send me that thing you wrote?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to.
Please.
Yeah.
Be very interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, well, again, you know, coming back to what Norman said, it just reaffirms, like I explained, that was the one point when I revisited it afterwards and saw what I'd written or looked at what I'd heard on paper, and I was like, blue neon light, what's that got to do with the Course in Miracles? You know? And then I was
Well,
thinking,
it connected with me.
Good, yeah. But I kind of understood the symbolism as just like the thinnest line between that could then just dissolve. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what it means. But yeah, that's further confirmation. Yeah. But however, we need to connect for me to type that up and send that to you, then I'm sure the guys will let me know. And yeah, I'd love to do that for you. Thank you for asking. And thank you for sharing, and keep that electric blue light coming out of those hands for us all.
I don't have anything to do with it.
Good. Then we know it's real.
So Leon, if you send that what what you spoke about to Teresa, and then she can forward it on to anyone who wants it.
Absolutely.
So anybody who wants it, raise your hand. One, oh look, everyone. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And that way it'll be much easier. We've come to the end of our time together, and thank you all for being here and joining and sharing. It's been wonderful. And thank you, Leon. That was great. Take yourself off mute and show your appreciation to Leanne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.